Business analysis services. Now, in business analysis services, we majorly look at the cube, an analysis cube. Analysis cubes are used for business analysis across the organization. You could, for example, have a marketing department. You could have a finance department that needs to analyze data in various ways based on finance dimensions. You can design an analysis cube, an OLAP cube. OLAP actually means online analytical transaction processing. We'll get back to that later, but for now we need to understand that an OLAP cube actually empowers the employee to be able to make better decisions based on information. OLAP cubes will, for that matter, bring the employee closer to organization data. It's one of the best performance tools we can ever look at. The structure of an analysis cube is majorly based over data sources, data source views, and then the cube itself. In this illustration, I would like to give you an illustration here. We have a set of data sources. We have an OLAP cube. We have an OLAP cube we called AdventureWorks DW cube. Now this cube has been built on a data source that I've chosen to call AdventureWorks DWDS, DS for data source. Now it's possible for you to actually build a cube on multiple data sources. You could have a cube built on a set of data sources. You could have more than 3, 4, 5, 6 data sources. You could connect a cube. You could configure a cube to pick data from an SQL database. You could an Oracle database, Excel file. All you need to do is to keep adding data sources. Like I'm trying to put it up here. I'll create a new data source, connect it to a server. You can see a server name. Make all the necessary connection, authenticate, pass in the authentication to the database, and then I'll make a connection of a data source, assuming I'm having another Oracle database that I need to connect data to. After I have made a number of data sources, what I'll do, I'll create what I call a data source view. Now, a data source view is a collection of database tables. These tables can be collected from numerous databases. You can have a table come from an Oracle database, a table come from an Access database, a table come from an SQL database, all created on one view. You are able to create relationships on these very many number of, edit them. You are able to create relationships, edit them, table relationships, so that you have the cube picking data from so many tables of multiple databases, related tables, because now we have a logical relation. You can edit the relationships. You can edit relationships. In all this, you're trying to create some kind of dashboard of information data. Then based on the data source view, you then come to create the actual cube. Now a cube actually has what we call dimensions and then measures. We have what we call dimensions and then measures. Now measures are quantitative. For example, you're talking about quantity, order quantity, you're talking about unit price, you're talking about sales, you're talking about sales amount, you're talking about discount sales. All this has been created from the data source view. All this has been created from the data source view. Remember the data source view. Now what we have here is measures. Measures of internet sales, measures of seller sales, measures of currency rates, measures of internet customers. Then coming to dimensions, dimensions are qualitative attributes. For example, you want to know out of your customers, assuming you're looking at customers, out of your customers, what are the addresses of the customers? What are the addresses? What are their birth dates? What was their level of education? What is the first name, gender, and all that? So a collection of all these attributes of a dimension will create very powerful analysis in case you intend to make an analysis. We can see in Solution Explorer that we have a series of dimensions. We plan each dimension trickles down to attributes. Now, after designing this cube, I will deploy it. I could as well go ahead and create partitions. Partitions are permissions. They are permissions. You may have a very huge cube, and you probably want to have a few people access that cube. Perspective, want a few people access that cube, and so you'll implement perspective so that other people can see while others are being denied to see. And we also have KPIs in case you need to set performance indicators for the cube. But then what is most important here, what I want you to focus on, is how the end user gets to access the cube. Now, this is real simple. A cube can be accessed through Excel by authorized permission. I have already designed this. How I did it is that I actually went down. I'll still show this to you again. I actually went deep down to Excel 2007, and then came down to the data pane, and to be able to access this cube I went down to the data pane, and then opted to have data coming to Excel from analysis services, because it says create a connection to an SQL Server analysis services cube, and you click this, it gives you all the parameters too. Now you can still see the same dimensions and the same measures and the same attributes that we saw in our cube. You remember that? This is what we saw initially. You can still see the same dimensions, the order date, and the attributes corresponding. You can see this as the order date. Look at the sales territory. We have the sales territory here with all of its dimensions. So we are still able to access the entire cube, at this time through a pivot table. Now, assuming we probably want to browse and understand the kind of dimensions and information that cube will give us. Assuming we wanted to understand the nature of our customers, so we can say that we would like to see the gender makeup of our customers in relation to, I'll get the gender dimension, and then drop it. Just see what I did. Get the gender dimension, drop it on the rows. Then come down to probably I want to relate the number of people, the distinction between male and female in relation to our sales, especially incident sales. I'll get the sale amount and then drop it down under the values. So it creates a graph instantly, but it also creates the pivot report. Now I can still bring this down a little further, break it down for you, and say that out of the male and female, I want to see the marital status of each of the male and female. So I'll still bring the marital status field, and then have it broken down to that respect. Say okay, Excel 2007. I can still bring a little design out of here, create a little design and intuitive design. Yep, that looks better. And then put a few of the commas and make it really look like figures. I have the option of putting this under column, replacing it as a row. What do you like? What's your option? For now we can put it under rows, so we got more space under rows. So I'd still say probably out of the male and female customers, I want to see the number of cars owned by each of the male. Maybe there's a relationship in the sales. So you can actually see from our graph that we tend to have higher purchases. We tend to have higher, among females, we tend to have high purchases of people with 2 cars. Okay, we tend to have high purchases. People with 2 cars, high purchases. People with 1 car. The guys are many of our customers. The people who buy more of our products have either 1 car, 2 cars, or 3 cars, or 1 car, no car, 1 car, or 2 cars. People with 3, 4 cars. So, right, if you're doing focusing on marketing, you may want to tailor your advert to suit this kind of dimension attribute of your customers. The same thing happens, be it male or female. It just cuts across. The people who own 3 or 4 cars or beyond are fewer in terms of sales. Fewer in terms of sales.